National purification to save the heart of a nation. Let burn a talking wood, bring a light to a talking wood. Natural law, just wisdom and love. Vision, truth below as a bird. Let burn a talking wood, let burn a talking wood.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm just going to introduce myself. I'm Cynthia Mitchell. I started this group to present natural law to people. The premise of it, based on the current societal situation, is kind of obvious that something has gone very wrong. So I was introduced to the concept of natural law through Mark Passio, who I highly recommend you checking out his website, podcast, and videos, because he is very knowledgeable. He goes very much in depth into this particular topic. This will be a much more broad kind of introduction into the topic. There's also lots of resources for books and videos and things like that on the Affirm Life Daily website / the Natural Law page. But I'm going to go ahead and get started. This presentation is going to be on love and truth are synonymous terms. So I will cover what is natural law, what is a right, what is truth, and what is love. So I will be sharing my screen momentarily, and then if you have questions, just go ahead and ask, and then I will answer them. If it's something that will be more in depth, we can answer it after. You can reach out to me after. So just let me know if everyone can see the presentation. Are you all able to see that?
Yeah,
yes.
I can see it.
Okay, great. Okay, so this again is just the introductory slide, and I'll be presenting the first half. My brother Steve will be presenting the second half, which will be talking about your rights within the current system that we have so that you can have more freedom within our current limited system of freedoms. So what is natural law? Natural law is the inherent, unchangeable, immutable law of the universe. It is not man-made law, so it has nothing to do with any laws or the current government or anything to do with anything man-made. These are the laws of the universe, which are immutable and totally unchangeable. Natural law is based on respecting the freedom, sovereignty, and rights of every individual. You can never have true freedom without morality. So morality is kind of built into following natural law. The more you get away from natural law, the more immoral your society will automatically become. Rights are not granted by government or authority, but given by the universe or God. I will use those terms interchangeably. This is why government is immoral by nature. The very essence of government is immoral, because you cannot grant what is not already inherently yours. So how can I grant you the right to have authority over something or another person if I don't have that right to have authority over another person? No one does, because that goes against natural law. So government, police, military, all those things are inherently immoral and inherently go against natural law, because it's never your right to infringe on another person's freedom, and no one else can give you that right to infringe on another person's freedom, no matter how many people are cooperating with it or say, yeah, it's fine. If it's 1,000 people and 999 of them say it's fine, it still goes against natural law. Society will always move towards destruction, loss of freedom, chaos, evil, and immorality when we move away from natural law. So natural law is based on rights and respecting other people's rights. So what is a right? Your rights include everything that does not cause harm to another or is stealing from another. So you have the right, you're born free. You're just happen to be born into a system which takes away all of your inherent freedoms, but you are born free. So your rights, you have a right to do anything that does not cause harm to another or is stealing from another. That is your birthright. All rights come down to property rights. This includes physical property, physical well-being, sexual contact. So you don't steal someone's stuff from their house. You don't hurt someone because that's stealing their well-being. You don't rape someone because that's stealing sexual contact from that person. Lying to someone about anything that affects their ability to discern the truth is also a violation of rights because you've stolen my ability to know what's true. And when I'm talking about lying, I'm not talking about, telling your friend her dress is cute and it's, maybe not that cute. I'm talking about lies that have an impact on someone's well-being. So for example, if a pharmaceutical company tells you that medicine is safe and they know it's not safe, that is an absolute violation of your rights because you have the right to make a decision based on true information. If it's not true information, how can you make an informed decision? So these are the principles of natural law that are on the Affirm Life Daily website. These are the principles that there's 7 basic principles. Like if you just look up natural law, that's what you'll see. But I kind of expanded upon them to make it, to dive a little deeper and to make it more understandable for people that are not familiar with natural law. I've spent hours and hours and hours studying this, and a lot of people are just being introduced to this idea. So I thought breaking it down further would help. I'm not going to read all of these. They are on the Affirm Life Daily website on the natural law page. And what I'm going to do for each meetup is I'm just going to go through these one by one. So this is meetup 1. So I'm going over love and truth are synonymous terms. So what is love? Love is the fundamental vibration of the one consciousness in the universe. So you can kind of think of truth in the way that they go together. Truth is like the sound of love's vibration. Because if love is what is, then when you speak of what is, it will be the truth. So love and truth are intertwined and lead to the same harmonious destination: freedom, order, and peace. When you deny truth, you move away from love. You move away from nature. You move away from the one consciousness. Anytime you deny truth, anytime, no matter what the reason is. So I put a quote on here from the gentleman I mentioned earlier, Mark Passio, about love. I thought it was a really good quote. Love is the force that creates harmony and order, brings light to the darkness, and expands consciousness and awareness of self. Since the divine is the embodiment of perfect love, it must also allow perfect freedom. This is why there is no direct intercession on the behalf of the divine in our world. The will of the divine for us is no different than our own will for us. Whatever we wish to create is allowed by the divine. That is perfect freedom and therefore perfect love. So basically he's saying we are all part of the one consciousness. We are like little pieces of the one consciousness. We are all in part at the same time, if that makes sense. So if we want to create chaos, if we want to create a hell on earth, we're allowed to do that with our free will. But we also have that same ability to create a paradise for ourselves. We have that same ability too. So it is completely up to us what we create. And we are collectively creating the reality that we are experiencing now. That's why it was so important for me to do this and to share this information, because we are creating our own reality. So if we can will a completely different reality into existence, but a lot of that just depends on people kind of breaking free from the programming and brainwashing that they're in right now. What is truth? Truth is objective and not subjective. That is a big, big deal, because so many people, especially now, feel like truth, it's my truth, or it's, they make up the truth to fit their situation. So if truth were subjective, the world would literally lose all meaning. Just imagine if there was really no objective truth. Nothing would mean anything, because you could say nothing is true. So your life would be completely meaningless if there was no truth. Everything would just be someone's perspective. But truth is objective. It is knowable. and it can be experienced directly and proven by factual and or observable proof. So for example, 2 plus 2 is 4, no matter how many people deny that fact. Again, you can use the example of you got 1,000 people, 999 say it's 5. That does not make it so. It's still 4. Even if it's just one person who is acknowledging that truth. It doesn't change the truth. It just changes what's happening. It doesn't actually, you cannot change the truth. It's indestructible. The term my truth, like I said, is a new age term designed to lead individuals to moral relativism. What moral relativism is when right or wrong changes depending on the circumstances, and you will deny obvious truths or facts because you want it to fit your situation. Most people use moral relativism so they can do what they want to do, basically. They can be selfish, they can be greedy, they can work a job that they know leads to destruction or hurting people or harming people and make an excuse because they use moral relativism. They just say, well, it's this situation, I can do it, but that situation I can't. So the example I gave is believing that police murdering someone is okay, but a citizen murdering someone is illegal and wrong. But if murder is wrong, it's always wrong, unless it's self-defense, because that is someone trying to take away your rights. And you always can protect your rights. That is not violence, that is force. You are just protecting your rights with force. But that is the only time it is okay to do harm to someone, is to protect your own rights. You do have a right to protect your rights from whomever, whatever person, whatever entity. You always have that right to protect your own rights. Okay, so this is how Mark Passio defined truth. Truth is unwavering. It simply is, and it's always simple. It is only our perception that wavers, either toward the truth or away from it. But the truth itself is simply that which is. It's just reality. The truth is just reality. And so many people have a problem now just acknowledging reality, but that's all the truth is. It's just reality. Some will attempt to sell you the lie that there is no truth. That which is true can never be known, or that it is only our perceptions of truth that comprise reality. At worst, these are deliberate lies by those intentionally attempting to mislead us. At best, these are ill-formed opinions of the severely misguided. The truth is that the truth exists. It is knowable. You can become increasingly aware of it in your own experience. This is, in fact, the reason we exist. So that is it for my portion. See, my glasses had slid down onto my nose. But did anyone have any questions on anything that I presented before Steve takes over and does his portion on rights and becoming a state national? No, I'm taking that as a no. But so Steve, I will let you take it away from here.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Can everybody see me? Is my camera on?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Steve Phillips. I'm Cindy's brother. So I wanted to present, kind of a little 101 presentation about, where we currently are, with, our rights as far as being a citizen and how we're viewed legally, and what steps you can start taking to be more free under a government system. But like Cindy was saying, it's really no type of government system is natural, and you're really not free. So you can gain more freedoms, but to be truly free, we would have to move towards something that doesn't involve government. So, but with that said, let me pull up my slides. Oops. Can everyone see the slides?
I don't know what happened to mine here.
Okay,
I don't, but it could just be my computer.
let me try.
Ariana,
this.
can you see the slides?
Oh, no, I've got something super weird going on my side, so something
Okay,
went wrong.
so yeah, me too.
Yes. Let me.
You hit the share screen?
Yeah, let me try to share a different screen. Okay, how about now?
Yeah, now I can see it.
Now you can see the slides?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I got it. All right, so this presentation is about, well, the goal of it is becoming a state national. So the first thing I posed was, what do you view yourself as? Do you think you're a citizen? Do you think you're a person or a corporate entity? And really, the answer is all of the above. So, according to the 14th Amendment, you are a citizen and a person. And legally, when they use the word person, like a common definition you and I would think of is a human being, like, an individual. But technically, person legally means persona. So that is like when you see your name in all caps. If you look at any ID, you look at your mail, it's almost always in all caps. That is a corporate entity persona of you, the human. And that's how the government deals with you on pretty much every level. Driver's license, you look at anything, passport, you look at any document, that's how you are going to be referred. So that persona is legally considered a dead entity. So the way they get around without seeing you as a living soul, which is, addressed in the Constitution, Bill of Rights, all our founding documents, is they view you as a dead entity, assumed lost at sea. And we'll go into how they came to that conclusion a little bit later. But the point that Cindy made, you were born, a man or a woman, a living soul, and they don't use words like person or citizen in our founding documents. It's always people. They just say people, we the people. And so our goal is to get back to at least that. So under a government system, we're not considered a corporate entity and not treated as such. Oh, and by the way, while I go through the slides, feel free to interrupt, stop me. If you have a question, that's fine. All right, so just getting a few definitions. A lot of these definitions are out of Black's Law Dictionary, which is a good reference if you're ever dealing with the government in any capacity or law enforcement or anything like that.
You said it's called Black's Law Dictionary?
Yes, Black's Law Dictionary.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a really good reference. I have Black's Law book here. I need to get an updated copy of it because they change stuff periodically. So there's different editions. I think it's up to the 11th edition now. But anyway, so like a person, like we have that common definition of our head, what that would be, but legally it's the subject of rights and duties according to the rank in society. It is a corporation. So when they refer to you like that person, especially when it's in all caps, they are referring to you as a corporate entity. And then originally we were referred to as people, and that's just the aggregate of individuals that constitute a state. So as you can see, that's when we were truly a republic, and the states were members of the republic. So the states really had all the power, and, we really didn't, we were just, we didn't really have a federal government with all these, with an army and laws and police and all that stuff. We didn't start out that way. And then a citizen, a person is granted rights and responsibilities as a member of a nation. So the country gives you your rights, and that's not true under natural law. You already have the rights. So what right would a country have to give you rights you already have? So the whole thing is a fallacy. The whole thing is it's just fraud. And okay, and then we go into some other things that are good to be aware of is common law, law of the land. That's where we started. That's what the Constitution addresses. Those are rules and principles to secure property rights. So that's all much closer. It's not natural law because it's still man-made, but it's much closer to what natural law principles are. And in admiralty law, which is what we're under now as a citizen, when you're a citizen, you're under admiralty law, law of the sea, and that's where that dead entity comes from, that you're presumed dead, lost at sea. So that's how they dispose of your living soul portion of it. So they don't have to treat you like a living soul. They'll just say, oh, you're presumed dead, lost at sea. And you are under the jurisdiction of criminal and civil maritime commerce rules. Maritime is only for commerce, for commercial use. We are not, the vast majority of us are not dealing in commerce in our everyday life. And registration is something good to be aware of as well, that is the commercial enrollment of property for government ownership. So when you register a car, you are giving ownership, primary ownership to the state. And then the state gives you usage rights, and that's how they get away with, charging you, making insurance mandatory, making you pay fees for tags, things like that. Having a driver's license, that's also part of that agreement, because you inherently have the right to travel in on the books in our laws. But what they do is they give you a driver's license. Driving is considered a professional commercial activity. So they are saying every person with a driver's license is acting in a commercial manner, and we all know that's not really true. But if you're a taxi driver, yes, you need a driver's license. If you're going to your friend's house, you don't need a driver's license. Okay. And okay, so this is just a little synopsis of where we went and where we are now. So, like I say, the United States started off with United States for America. A lot of people know that. Something I didn't know till recently. I always thought it was the United States of America, and the reason why that's important is because under the law, of means ownership. So that's why all the states are no longer it's not Florida state, it's the state of Florida. All the states have moved to that because they're all corporations now. So the entire U.S., all the member states, all of the cities, all the major cities, well, probably all the cities, all the counties, they're all incorporated under that federal corporate structure of the United States. So constitutional rights have been superseded by statutes and codes. If you ever read the Constitution, you can see how many laws are in there, and you see people in court over things that are not in the Constitution because the court system you don't have rights under the Constitution when you go to a maritime admiralty court, which almost every court is. There are very, very few actual constitutional courts. There's very, very few constitutional lawyers because they're just ignoring that law, and we let them get away with ignoring the Constitution, which is the founding. So everything they do, which is most of the laws on the books, are against the Constitution or unconstitutional. But if we don't say anything and we agree to it by registering cars, getting driver's licenses, and staying in the system, we're giving consent. So the biggest thing under our current or our original government is to not give consent anymore for those actions if you don't want to be treated as a corporate entity. So like I say, they're granting you privileges and assigning responsibilities. That's what statutes and codes do. That's corporate policy. That is not your constitutional rights. Your constitutional rights are pretty simple and clear. And if you don't violate that, you're not breaking the law per se, the law of the land. But when you break a statute or a code, you're breaking the law of the sea. You're breaking that admiralty law, which they will enforce. And they say all of these policies are for our liberty and security, but all they do is limit us and make us slaves to a system, and it's just designed to keep control over the population. So couple of examples: law enforcement. The sheriff is really the only true constitutional law enforcement, and militia. So the way it used to work is a sheriff would have deputies. If any issue came up beyond the scope that him and his deputies, the sheriff could just activate the militia. So what he would do is just go to the like say it's at a city level or town level. He would just go to the council and say, I'm sorry, does somebody have a question?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Okay. So the sheriff would request that the militia be activated, which were just citizens on standby, which is, that's why we have the right to bear arms in the Constitution. And they would activate the militia if they needed more forces to deal with any issue. And most issues that were foreseen in the Constitution were issues against the government. This system was set up so the government couldn't grow too big and get out of control and oppress the way we were being oppressed by England. So that quickly all got replaced by the same oppression that England was doing, and we just called it the United States. So it didn't last long under this, but and now we have policy enforcement. So the police and federal agents, they do policy enforcement. They don't actually do law enforcement. And another example is a lawyer. They've been replaced by attorneys in admiralty courts, bar attorneys. And I've seen tons of testimony videos that people that's went into court, and some will challenge the judge and ask the judge directly, can I have a constitutional lawyer represent me? And the judge will say no, because that's not allowed in an admiralty court. It has to be a bar attorney. And they're not loyal to you, they're loyal to the system. So they're not going to have your best interest at heart if that's their oath is to the legal system, not to you. Anybody have any questions about anything so far? Good. Okay. So then we have, like a comparison of a citizen and a state national. Okay. So the U.S. citizen, I think we kind of went over this, but U.S. citizen is corporate entity, dead vessel, presumed lost at sea, subject to admiralty law, legislative statute, codes, and ordinance and commerce. A state national is a human being subject to common law. And again, common law is far simpler and much like natural law, and like where we started as a country. And so shortly after your birth, you're a sovereign state national because you were born a national of whatever state you were born in. That you were just a state national, which is a member of the United States. And then that was changed to U.S. citizenship to change your legal status and to change your obligation to the U.S. federal government instead of to the states. So they can make sure that at the federal level, that supersedes anything a state can do, which is reverse of how it started. States had the power, federal government did not. And that happened when your parents registered your birth certificate, because remember, registration is giving ownership to the state, to the government entity that you register it with. which is usually your state. And so to get back to your original civil and constitutional status, that's a long, rather complicated process. They made a complicated system, so it's kind of complicated to undo it. But if it's something you're interested in, it's definitely could be worth your time and effort. But there will also be challenges because more and more people are doing this, so they're making it much more difficult to do. And I'll get into a couple of examples that even I've experienced on my journey so far. So it starts with repudiation and revocation of U.S. citizenship with the Secretary of State. And by the way, before I get into this is a big deal. It's not something I would take lightly. I would do a lot of research to make sure this is something you understand, you know what you're in for, before you just head down this road because it just sounds like a good idea. You got to know it's a good idea for you before you would even consider doing this. But back to this. So you would just file that affidavit with the Secretary of State. So part of this process is like you need your birth certificate. You need your original birth certificate with your registration number on it, the signature of the doctor and your parents, things like that. Just that one step they make difficult. Most states won't issue a birth certificate like that. If you ask for a record of your live birth, most states nowadays are just going to send you a computer-generated document that has what they consider the pertinent information from your birth, no signatures of any kind on it.
So I just want to interject, Steve. He is talking about your long birth certificate, not the one you have at home, not that birth certificate, not the one we all have.
Yeah, well, right. I happen to have, before I did this, I happen to have like a copy of my original from when I joined the military a long time ago. So I had one original copy, but I wanted more than one. So I tried to get more. So what they've done, like, for example, I was born in Wisconsin. Wisconsin has changed the definition of what a long form birth certificate is in their statutes. They just changed what it is. So now they're saying that computer generated form with no signatures, that they're saying there's enough information on that computer generated document to be the long form. So I asked Wisconsin for a long form and I got back that computer generated document. Nothing, didn't look anything like the original I had got, 30, 40 years ago. Didn't look anything like that. So, and I've checked, and there's other states that are doing, a lot of other states are doing the same thing. So because normally you can just go online, request it, pay the fee, and they'll send it to you. To get an actual copy, which they will no longer certify, but at least you have the copy of it with the signatures, you have to write them and explicitly tell them what you want, and they will explicitly send you back a copy that says it's not certified, can't be used for ID purposes. But that's not my goal with it. My goal is to get those numbers off of it, to get the signatures, dates, and numbers off of the document. Like when I was registered with the state, things of that nature. What my registration number is under my birth. Because that's a whole nother conversation, but that's something that corporate entity is actually traded on the stock market and everything, but that's a whole nother conversation. All right.
Maybe you can cover that next time.
Yes, I can. So the second major step is to submit after you send this to the Secretary of State. It's an affidavit. Affidavit is a statement of truth. In the law, a statement of truth that's unrebutted is truth. So if I send an affidavit to someone and say this, and this, I attest that this, and this is true, and they do not rebut it point by point, every point I made in the document I sent them becomes truth in the law. So none of these people, I sent mine to the President, Secretary of State, the Attorney General, everybody. So, and none of them replied. So those statements I made to them are all truth in the law now because they didn't reply within 21 days. That's how long you have legally to reply to an affidavit. So you wait for 21 days. I mean, you're going to send all this out with proof of return receipt, which was another problem I had. The only one you need legally for this is from the Secretary of State. I got back every single one. I sent out 5. I got back the other 4. I did not get back proof of delivery from the U.S. Postal Office for the Secretary of State. It's been many months, and I've contacted them many times, and they just refuse to acknowledge that registered mail that's tracked got delivered to the person. They'll send me stuff saying it was delivered to Washington, D.C., stuff like that. And I'm like, no, I need proof that it was delivered to the Secretary of State because that's who I addressed it to. I didn't address it to just Washington, D.C. So that's, I don't know if that's a coincidence. Kind of weird to me,
Probably
but
not.
I don't know.
Sure not.
That the only one I need out of the 5 didn't come back. And then, I opened up an inquiry with the post office and I still don't have it back. So, but I'm not, I'm going to move on because there's another way I can get around that, but they don't know that. So I'm still going to make them life difficult for them. And every time they try to close it, I just reopen it and say, yep, I asked for this information on confirmation of delivery of a registered mail. You need to do an inquiry. I'll just keep making them do it. So, so just try to fight for my rights. I have a right, it's a postal service that they're supposed to provide, and they're not even providing it. But it's another conversation as well. So second step is the deed of reconveyance, and that takes ownership of your vessel. By vessel, I mean, your name, your all caps name. That vessel they created, that's not going to go away. But you can take control of it, and because the government owns that vessel. You can do a deed of reconveyance and reassign that vessel back to yourself, to your human person that you control it. You can attest that is what happened. So like the first step is kind of just telling your intentions on what you want to do, and the second step is is kind of like actually doing it, saying like they had their chance to prove that they own this vessel, they didn't, so now I'm taking control of it. And then once you get that document, that deed of reconveyance notarized, now you record those documents, that is the point where you are officially a state national. And that's not really going to mean anything to you or to anybody else at that given time. So the next step is to get a new passport. I don't know if you guys got passport. You might want to look at the first page of a passport. The first page of a passport refers to citizen/national. I've never questioned that in all the years I've had a passport, but that is referring to the state national. So passports are for both statuses. So but the barcode on a passport says which one you are. The passport does not state that in text, but your barcode does. So if anybody scans your passport, they know if you're a U.S. citizen or an American state national. It'll say the difference. So you get that new passport, and that can be your primary identification. Like if you don't want to use because it's not like you don't throw your driver's license in the trash. You could, but you don't have to. You can keep it. You just don't use it. You just don't take it with you. And they also issue passports with passport cards that are small, look like driver's license. So that's something that I would probably get as well. And you can use that as your primary form. So if a law enforcement officer scans it, he's going to know you're different. He's not, he's still going to try to entrap you into their rules, but you got a pretty easy get out of jail free card at that point if he stops you for anything that's not a violation of common law. And most cops well, I don't know, most they're starting to learn, but a lot of cops wouldn't even know what that meant. But since they're running into people like this more often, they're starting to train them. Like, we can't have people in open court presenting this because it becomes public information, and they don't want that to be public information. So they prefer to just let you go on your way than make a scene with you, because they will end up losing on the back end. You know, it'll inconvenience you, but it also inconveniences them because, you know, like I say, you those stories are getting out and they just don't want to deal with it. That's what I've been hearing lately is, you know, so more cops are starting to learn how to deal with that status. And so some, like, two big things. So at that point, once you're there, you've taken dominion over your persona, over yourself. And then two other things being, like, you know, real estate. You buy some land, you buy a house, whatever. The state will always hold the land patent, and just buying a house itself is fraud, because that should be automatic, where if you pay the money, you get the land patent. But they make it sound like they won't even tell you that's an option. They'll just say, oh, you know, they'll just push you on through, say, here's your certificate of title. And they'll just say, that's the way people buy houses. That is not the way you're supposed to buy a house. You're supposed to buy a house, you're supposed to get the land patent. You can do it later. So that's, you know, one good thing. And I'm pretty sure you can get a land patent without being a state national. Even as a citizen, I think you can still get a land patent. So that's something that you might want to look into if you own property. Would highly encourage that. Vehicles. Now, vehicles are different, because vehicles, when you get driver's license and all that, you are agreeing to their rules explicitly. So I think I don't think it will help you to get, well, it could, but I don't know if you can get the manufacturer certificate of origin if you're a citizen. I'm not sure. And I haven't looked into that yet. But I did look into it for land patents, and you can't do that. So, but it's something you want to do, because you have a certificate of title. It's the same thing. That certificate of title allows you to use the vehicle, and the state owns the vehicle. That's why they can repossess it. Like, if you don't pay for your registration, they can take your car. If you have the manufacturer's certificate of origin and you're not under their rules, you're not claiming a driver's license, then they can never touch your property. It's like, and, you know, of course, along with all this stuff, any property or trusts, from a legal standpoint, everything in a trust, like a land patent, is a special type of trust. So that's why it protects you from, that's why it can declare you as a true owner. Nobody can go after it. Same thing with vehicles. So that's all I have. Does anybody have any questions?
Doesn't look like it, but that was some really good information. Thank you so much. So our plan, like I said, is to go through all the various natural law principles that I put up earlier, and with each meetup that we have, we'll cover both rights and natural law. So we're going to our goal is to do one a month, and we'll send out everything through Meetup. And this is recorded, so I will post this on Meetup. I can email it directly to anyone who wants it emailed. Just let me know. But I did record this entire presentation, and I'll record all of them going forward. We'll probably switch it up a little bit next time. Maybe he can present the rights first, and then I'll do natural law second. But I definitely appreciate your time, everyone. Thank you so much. This is really important to me, and it's important for the world, really, because obviously we're in a whole mess right now. So I feel like there's a quote. I can't think of the exact quote right now, but just saying that, having knowledge or knowing and not doing anything is the same as not knowing. You really don't know if you're not doing anything. This is the point of the game where everybody needs to be doing something. We really do. We need all hands on deck right now because the ship is sinking fast. So again, I appreciate your time. Everyone have a wonderful night, and God bless.